Adventure 1: Making Waves. Setting sail on the merchant vessel Sea Griffin, 3 daring adventurers leave their homeland in search of a new future, or perhaps to right the wrongs of their past. Nakoa, a sea elf bard, Scourge Featherfur, a tiefling druid, and Nautilus, a war-forged fighter. The captain of the ship, Ellis Vance, takes them on a week-long voyage to the infamous Broken Chain Islands. But just before arriving, the ship is attacked by a giant octopus that threatens to capsize the vessel. Scourge immediately assaults the beast with his plant magic, while Nakoa and Nautilus tie off ropes to the ship's railing in order to attack the beast directly without losing their weapons or themselves to the sea. The tiefling druid once again uses his magic, this time to communicate with the octopus and drive it away, but to no avail. Jumping into action, Nakoa leaps over the railing and strikes the monster with his sword as the Warforged launches their spear at the beast, lessening its hold on the ship. Scourge once again tries to hit the creature with his vine spell, but the octopus is out of reach and slowly sinking below the waves. Already in the water, the sea elf lands a final blow on the octopus, driving it away in a cloud of inky black water. Impressed at their combat prowess, Captain Vance nonetheless informs them of another problem. The octopus damaged the ship's rudder, leaving it dead in the water. Using the rope already tied around Nakoa, Nautilus lowers the sea elf back down into the water to examine the damaged mechanism. He discovers a torn tentacle preventing the rudder from operating properly. Using Nautilus's handy crowbar, Nakoa partially dislodges the severed tentacle, but not before several tiny carnivorous fish gather in the nearby waters. Thinking fast, Scourge leaps in to aid the sea elf, and together they free the fleshy blockage from the rudder, which is instantly gobbled up by the ferocious fish. Climbing onto the bard's back, Scourge and Nakoa are hoisted onto the deck of the Sea Griffin as the crew set sail once more to make the final leg of their journey. The ship approaches Dawnbreaker Isle, the easternmost island in the Broken Chain, and enters a protected bay where they anchor in deep water. Captain Vance and the 3 adventurers pilot the ship's longboat to the nearby fishing village of Sunfish Cove. Instructing the 3 to find a room for the night, the captain continues on to purchase supplies for the ship. The party is immediately approached by a squat little goblin with an oversized ego. The goblin identifies himself as Constable Dobbs, keeper of the peace in Sunfish Cove. After questioning the group about their faction, he identifies himself as a member of the Steel Ring. He goes on to list the 5 factions that make up the Broken Chain and how they relate to one another, ending the conversation with a warning not to cause any trouble. Entering the village tavern, the party attempts to rent a couple rooms from the bartender, a dwarven man by the name of Boar, but are misled by his sarcastic questions. A nearby tavern worker, a sea elf woman who introduces herself as Marlena, offers to help the 3 by letting them stay in her shack, if only they help her clean it up a bit. Heading to Marlena's house, Nautilus is approached by a lizardfolk fisher who Marlena identifies as Zet. The lizard man is suspicious of Nautilus and accuses the Warforged of theft. Marlena reprimands him for his actions, at which point Zet runs off and dives into the water, swimming away. Marlena's attention is drawn to the mouth of the bay, where she motions to the Sea Griffin, leaving the island and the party. It is then that Nautilus discovers an unexpected item in their backpack, a jade egg statue someone smuggled in before the group left the Sea Griffin. Stepping away from Marlena, the group discusses their situation, with Nautilus passing the egg to Nakoa. Distrustful of nearly everyone after the sudden departure of the Sea Griffin, the accusations of the lizard folk, and the discovery of the jade egg, they decide to assist Marlena but not stay overnight in the village. At Marlena's home, the party helps clean what little clutter there is in her tiny shack, learning a bit more about the factions of the Broken Chain in the process. They discover that the bartender Boar is part of the Igneous Coalition, crafters and miners from the Central Islands, while Marlena is with the Eastern Exchange, a group of merchants, traders, and even smugglers. The lizard man Zet is from the westernmost islands, the Primal Refuge, tribes of more primitive folk. When asked about talking with Zet once more, Marlena directs them towards the island's north beach, at which point they bid their host farewell and set out to resolve their previous run-in with the lizard folk fisher and uncover the mystery of the jade egg. Arriving on the north side of the island, the party finds Zet in an animated discussion with 2 other lizard folk. Not wanting to waste any more time on the matter, Nautilus approaches the trio and tosses the jade egg onto the beach, explaining that they did not steal the item, nor do they wish to keep it. In shock, Zet retrieves the egg and passes it to his companion, who introduces herself as Jury, and her other companion as the mute lizard man, Tangle. She explains to the party that the jade egg was lost to her people long ago when they were driven from these shores to the islands in the west. They recently returned and have been worshipping their god Simuanya in a forgotten shrine on the island. In exchange for returning the egg, Juri invites them to visit the shrine the following morning. Rather than returning to the village, the three adventurers take their rest on the beach under the open sky. Nautilus begins their sentry rest at the edge of the makeshift camp, while Nakoa starts playing a tune on his whalebone lyre. As the song continues, colorful island birds begin gathering atop Nautilus, using the Warforged as a perch while they listen to the sea elf's beautiful melody. Morning comes, and with it the return of the three lizard folk. They beckon the group to follow them as they make their way along the beach before turning inland towards the tiny mountain that forms the center of the island. Soon the group enters an open cave lit by glowing candles. A pool stretches out before them toward a statue of the lizard folk god Simuanya. Stepping stones line the way to the statue, with a shallow waterfall spilling over a short ledge to one side. Juri holds the egg with great reverence as she approaches the statue, returning it to Simuanya's outstretched hands. With the ritual complete, she turns back to thank the party for returning the egg to its rightful place. But, in that moment, two primordial beings rise from inside the cave, one a water elemental from the small cascading falls, and the other an earth elemental emerging from the stone ledge behind it. Their appearance reveals an opening in the wall, hidden since the jade egg was first removed from the shrine. Curious about this newly discovered secret, Nautilus dropped a lit torch into the opening, revealing that it continues straight down into a large pool. Speaking to the elementals in their primordial language, Nakoa learns that the entrance leads to a hidden shrine beneath the one they are currently in. Braving the fall, Nakoa steps into the dark opening and plunges into the pool below. He finds himself in an expansive cave dimly lit by glowing moss, with a handful of cave fish swimming in the pool and oversized dragonflies fluttering along the far wall. One shore of the pool extends farther into the darkness. After Nakoa relays the information to his companions, Scourge jumps into the pool while Nautilus waits in the shrine above. The sea elf and the tiefling explore the shore and delve deeper into the cave, but are prevented from doing so by a sticky pink tendril that attacks them from the ceiling, throwing each of the party members back to the shoreline. Responding to their cries for aid, Nautilus jumps into the pool and joins them on the stony shore. After learning of the threat, the Warforged secures a lit torch to their spear and holds it above them as they slowly walk deeper into the cave. Again, the pink tendril attacks, but this time it is singed by the torch. The party finally catches a glimpse of a camouflaged creature making its way down the wall, eventually revealing itself as a giant chameleon. Scourge once again uses his druid magic to speak with the beast and learns that it only attacked the party because it was hungry. Now it nurses a burn on its wounded tongue. The tiefling quickly pulls out an herbalism kit from his pack, while the other two adventurers gather moss and water from the cave to assist in making a remedy. Once finished, Scourge spreads the soothing balm on the chameleon's tongue, much to the creature's relief. Still hungry, the giant lizard asks for the party's aid in catching one of the oversized dragonflies from the cave. Launching into action, Nautilus pulls out the flag of their former military company to use as a net, but soon realizes that the noise of their heavy armor is scaring off the insects. Using this to their advantage, the Warforged passes the flag to Nakoa and Scourge before making their way to the opposite shore, lighting another torch and herding the dragonflies back toward their companions. The ploy works, and the bard and druid soon catch one of the oversized insects. Scourge returns to the chameleon and offers it the meal, which it greedily accepts. Thanking the party for feeding it, the creature reveals that the next pool in the cave includes an underwater passage leading to yet another chamber. Finishing the morsel, the chameleon then scurries up the wall and exits into the shrine above. Delving into the next pool, the party swims through the short passage and emerges in yet another dimly lit chamber, this one occupied by an aging lizardfolk shaman sitting on a small stone island in the middle of the water. 4 bubbling springs extend out of the pool around the island, occasionally spewing out large bubbles. The party watches as the bubbles rush toward the shaman, filling her with life energy. She yells at the group when they enter the chamber, calling them outsiders and intruders. It soon becomes apparent that the lizardfolk had been sealed in this place for a long time, and blames the party and their kind for the theft of the egg, its loss trapping her here. Threatened with the shaman's ice magic, the group explains the situation, how they returned the jade egg and were brought to the shrine by the shaman's kinsman. Slowly, her anger fades, and though she is reluctant to leave this altar of life, which is now the only thing that sustains her, she finally agrees to return with the group to the surface. The shaman, who eventually introduces herself as Natha, follows the party through the underwater passage and back to the first pool. While the party is unsure of how to reach the exit high above the pool, Natha calls out to the elementals above. The group is soon greeted by a quick but massive deluge of water. The elemental guardians aid them, with the water elemental turning into a geyser to lift them out of the pool, and the earth elemental forming stone stairs to lead them the rest of the way. Once out, the aging shaman is eagerly greeted by the other lizard folk. She stares out wistfully at the rays of sunlight beyond the cavern as Zet and Tangle escort her outside. When the party tells Juri about the altar of life hidden in the cave below, the lizard folk realizes that Notha will not live much longer without its magic. Yet, she is happy that the old shaman could finally experience the outside world once more. She thanks Nakoa, Scourge, and Nautilus for their help in this, their first adventure in the Broken Chain.